So, we know that an excess of phosphorus poses many issues, but one of them is through the emergence of harmful algae blooms, or HABs. These blooms grow out of control due to the excess of phosphorus in bodies of water, harming animal life. And they harm life due to the toxicity they release, the physical blockage of sun, which kills other plant life, and the hypoxia, which is the lack of oxygen, which kills everything eventually and causes dead zones in the water. Okay, so how do we mitigate these risks? One is through physical or mechanical control, which in this case is clay modified with aluminum or iron, which are positively charged, which makes it easier for them to flocculate, which means like bind with the algae cells in the water. And this flocculization actually kills the cell, partially due to the physical force and partially from the lack of light. But we see that in South Korea for 29 years, this has been very, very effective. And in my opinion, could be implemented here due to the effectiveness there. This doesn't tackle the lack of oxygen, but it does give the environment a chance to heal and has quite a lot of promise, in my opinion. So another method is through biological control, which basically means using another organism to kill the other. In this case, using the microscopic parasite Amobophyra, which attacks plankton and other single-cell eukaryotes in the dinoflagellate family, which is what causes harmful algae blooms. And this scientist named Fernando Mazzillo did find that although there is some discussion in the scientific community whether this is beneficial or harmful, he found that at around 20% prevalence in host species, that it has probably mitigated or prevented algae blooms in California, and noted that a lack of parasitism in 2007 accounted for extreme toxic blooms. So there definitely still needs to be more research on this because there are arguments that say it is more negative than positive, but I think we're going down an interesting direction with this biological control. So chemical control is the next possible solution. Copper sulfate tried and failed horribly, but hydrogen peroxide at a 7 milliliter per liter is toxic to golden algae. And to me, considering blue algae is most common and has more cyanobacteria, I see this more as a secondary option, but it is beneficial in specific purposes. And they did find that the tilapia and tiger prawns were not affected by this chemical control, and that the golden algae bloom was managed quite well in this study. So lastly, utilizing various environmental controls is another method that should be implemented. And I think all of these methods should be implemented in different ways. It shouldn't be just one. So, for example, managing wastewater and filtering out this phosphate, farmers planting cover crops to absorb excess nitrogen and phosphate from manure, using a process that physically manipulates water to aerate it to prevent these dead zones would be helpful, and homeowners updating and managing their septic systems are all methods that should be implemented. Consistency is key, and we can see the EBPR process of aerating, which is quite interesting. And here we see explained how they filter out the phosphate in water. So to conclude this, all hope is not lost. And there are various methods of dealing with these harmful algae blooms that are such a problem today around the globe. I think that using a combination of these methods is best, and really managing the source of this, which primarily is animal agriculture and their manure, and finding a way to form phosphate from that instead of mining, I think would be a great thing to do. And there are some strides in that, which I haven't gone over in this because I was focusing on algae, but I think finding the source and mitigating that issue would be very helpful, and just using all of these methods together depending on the circumstance. So yeah, all hope is not lost.